I'd like to give you the agenda first, so let's take a look at the agenda for today's training session. We're going to look at a use case overview of what we're building today. We're going to architect our application. We're going to look at some table designs. We're going to build some data pages. We're going to password protect our application, and during the training session, I'm going to be embedding our application into our web pages. So let me give you a live example of what we're going to build today. The application that I've set up is a real estate application. I know I mentioned I was going to do something else today, but I ran into a bit of a hurdle yesterday, so I had to switch gears and build something else. So I created a real estate application, and as always, don't pay any attention to the aesthetics. This is really just for the purpose of functionality, so you can see how Caspio can be used to build applications. And this real estate application is a 2 steps. It's got a public interface, and it also has an internal interface where agents and admins can log in, post real estate, manage their own properties, and also manage inquiries that are being submitted via the web. So try to imagine this is your corporate website, okay? And then on your corporate website, you have the ability to search for properties. You can do a price range, you can search based on state, city, and then when you click search, you get to see that one listing that's for sale. And let's say I'm visiting this website and I'm interested in this home. I can go to details. I can look at additional information about this property. I can contact this agent that's selling this real estate property. And upon submission, this agent is going to be notified via email. So let's go ahead and make one submission here. We'll say, well, I always use the same example in my applications. Actually, let's do this. We'll say Bob Jones, bob@test.com. We'll just add a phone number, and then message can be something like that, and click submit. The email is triggered to this real estate agent, and now the real estate agent knows that he can log in to the account. So let's go ahead and log in as Jesse@remax.com. Password is test. And as soon as I log in, I can see that one home that I'm selling. That's that property that we just saw on the web. So let's look at it again. You can see the title of the home is New Home, or the title of this listing. And I just called it property name New Home. I can go to details, and I can manage this listing if I want to. I can unpublish it from the corporate website. I can add a new listing. So if I'm selling a new property, I can just fill out this form, click submit, and that home will be available now on our corporate website. I can manage all my inquiries, and here is that inquiry that just came in from Bob. So now I can log inside my account and go to this tab, and now I know where to pull up that message. I can delete the message, and then last but not least, we can update our own profile as the agent. Okay, so now let me go ahead and log in as the admin of this application. And as the admin, Walter, and the administrator has a lot more, has access to more information. So the first thing that the administrator can do is he can manage all the agents in the company of this real estate agency. So I see myself, I am the admin of the application, and I currently have one agent that's working for me. I can add a new agent. So let's say we say Ashley Jones, Ashley@remax.com, password test. So I'm basically just creating an account for my agent that I just hired, and I want her to have access to her account. So I'm going to click on submit. I can see now that Ashley is my newest agent, and now Ashley is going to be able to log in to her account, and now she can submit listings that are going to be available on our corporate website. Okay. And then we can also manage all the inquiries that are being submitted to all of our agents. And we can also manage all the listings that our agents are submitting. So as an admin, I want to be able to see all the messages, and I also want to be able to see all the listings that are being submitted by my agents. Okay, so this application has a total of 10 data pages and 10 web pages. And before I go into my Caspio account to show you how this was built, does anyone have any questions before we begin today's training session? Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. And as I said in the beginning, I'm not going to be unmuting the line because there's a lot of ground to cover today, but this video is being recorded and will be available on our knowledge base at the end of the day under full implementation demos, and you're going to be able to find that video at the bottom of the list. Okay, it's also going to be available on our YouTube channel, so you can watch this on your own pace, because I have to move a little bit faster because there's a lot of data pages to build and I only have about 50 minutes to do so. Okay, so I am hoping that most of you have attended my Monday through Thursday session first prior to jumping in today. You're welcome to stay, but just note that it's going to be a little bit overwhelming if you haven't attended my Monday through Thursday session where we cover the basics and all the tools that you need to be equipped with to be able to follow along on the Friday session. So let's go ahead and build our new application. We're not going to be importing any data. I'm going to build it from scratch, and I'm going to call it real estate. Okay, here's my application. I'm going to click on open. And you can jot down some notes if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and skip that, and I'm going to go directly to my tables and start building my foundation. And I know that my first table is always going to be the user table for my employees to be able to log in. So I will say user ID. That'll be an auto number. And then we're going to list the employee name. So we'll do this really quickly here. Email of the employee, that's going to be unique. We need password for them to be able to log in with. And I know that I have the admin interface, so that needs to be a checkbox. Also agent needs to be a checkbox, and I always have my status checkbox to be able to allow the admin to give access who can log in and who cannot log into the account. Okay, so those are all the basic fields for my employee table. So let's call it employees. Or you can call it agents, or whatever you want. And I'm going to just quickly list two of my employees here. So we'll say Walter White, Walter at remax.com. We'll say a password can be test. And he's going to be an admin and status checked. And I also want Jesse Pinkman, Jesse at remax.com, and password is going to be test. And he's going to be an agent of my application because I need to have some sample users. So when I deploy my application, I need to make sure things are working correctly. So I just manually add at least 2 employees for now. All right. So hopefully everyone knows how to build a user table. It's fairly simple if you attended my Monday to Thursday session. And now the biggest table that we're probably going to need is the properties table, where the agents are going to be adding all the information about the property. Okay, and the first one that we'll need is a property ID. I want this to be an auto number because each time you add a property, that property needs to have a unique ID associated or identified that identifies that property. And then you list property name, property description, and that can be a text area. So we need to enable 64,000 characters so agents can type in more information. Address, city, state, and we're going to add zip. And then now you can list everything else that you wish to collect about each one of your properties that you're selling. So for example, a number of bedrooms, and I'm going to make that a number. So then number of bathrooms. And of course, every time you look at a real estate property, you're interested in knowing how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what the price is going to be of that real estate property. And that's also going to be a number. Price or cost, maybe square feet or square footage. And that's also going to be a number. And then we're going to list a few more here. So let's have date posted. So when that was added to the table by the agent. And then the most important ones that you're going to need here is the employee name, because what I'm trying to do here is stamp which one of my agents is submitting this listing. So I need to stamp the employee's name and also their user ID inside this table. And the user ID needs to be a number because it's an auto number in my main table, Here it needs to be a number. Okay, we're going to stamp this information inside the property table. And then you also want status, which is going to be a checkbox, because I want to be able to publish or unpublish this property as the agent. When do I actually want to list this property? And then last but not least, let's add one more, which is going to be the property image. And that's going to be a file type, data type. So the agents can actually have a browse button to be able to upload a property. And just so you guys can see how this table actually translates on the web, if you look at the live example that I just demonstrated, if we go back to agent login, and if you go to add new listing, you can see all of those fields that are inside the submission form. So the agent can add all that information, including the browse button, to be able to upload a property image. And there is my status checkbox to be able to publish or unpublish this property on the web. Okay, so that's it for these fields. Those are really all the fields I need. I'm going to go and click on save, and let's call it property table. Okay, now I'm going to build a messages table later on. I'm not going to build it now, so I don't want to overwhelm you and confuse you with too many IDs and fields. That messages table I'm going to build later is going to contain all the messages or all the inquiries that are going to be submitted by the public to contact the agents. I am going to build just one more quick table. I'm going to have a states lookup table. States lookup. And then we're going to call this table states lookup. And I'm just going to go ahead and list a few states in here because I want to have a lookup table of states across multiple data pages later on. That way I don't have to add the custom values each time I have to do a lookup table or a drop down. So we'll just list a few: California, New York, and maybe Hawaii. Okay. And this whole application here is going to end up having 4 tables, but for now I only have 3. Let's go to our views now, and let's filter based on the employee table who's the admin and who is the agent. Okay, so that's the next step. So let's go to views, click on new view, and let's say this is going to be filter admin based on the employee table. And you're going to filter based on the admin checkbox and also the status checkbox. And this view is basically filtering based on our employee table. So if you click on open, you get to see Walter's information. Let's build one more view to filter our agents. And that's also based on the same table. And we're going to have the agent checkbox checked. And now the status checkbox is checked, which means as long as both of those checkboxes in my main table are checked, we're going to be able to filter our agents, and we're going to see Jesse's information because the user table has both of these checked. And the view is just basically filtering based on that table. Okay, so one last step here left is the authentications, to build both authentications for our admin users and also our agents. So click on new authentication, and I'm going to just speed through this really quickly. So we'll use the admin view, custom, and we'll say email, and click on create, and I'm going to call this admin A for authentication, and one more for our employees, so the filter agents, email, and let's go and click on create. Agents A authentication. All right. So this is, again, the foundation. Okay, you have your user table, you have all your tables built, you have your views, you have your authentications, and now we can jump to data pages and we can start working on our forms and reports. So in the data pages tab, the first thing I'm going to do is create my folders to identify all of my categories or my user groups. So again, this is going to be admin, agents, and I also want to have one more folder for public. And this is going to contain all of my public-facing data pages. If you look at the live example, this data page, the search properties, is public-facing. Okay, it's on my main corporate website, and it's not password protected. These are the data pages that are going to be public. This is the portal for the agents and admin to be able to log in and be able to manage everything from this interface. Okay. Feel free to stop me if you're getting confused up until this point. I don't mind stopping for a few seconds if you have any questions at this point. Okay. So now that we have a few tables built, I think the logical step next is to create the ability for, let's see, where do I want to begin? I can begin in a few different places, but let's begin under the admin portal, and let's have the ability to add a new agent first. Okay, so we're going to build this form as the first step because I have a user table. So under the admin folder, click on new data page. And we're going to use the submission form, and that's going to be based on the employees table because that's where all the employee information is going to be. I'm going to apply a different style here. Let's go with maybe this one here, and let's call this add new agent. And we're going to restrict access based on the admin authentication, okay, the one that we just built, because this is only for the admin interface, the ability to add new agents. I need all my fields, and then right over here we're going to say employee name. I can make this required, which means that I have to have at least the employee's name inside a table. Then we have the email. That's going to be required because it needs to be required because the employee needs to be able to log in using the email address. That's going to be the username. Password, that's going to be required as well. And then you can allow them to log in as the admin, as the agent, and status. Usually I like to put a display text here after the checkbox, so I can say check to allow login. Click on finish, and here's my first form. Okay, I can click on preview now to see it. Okay, so there's my login screen, and really quickly let's just go ahead and deploy that now and embed it into our web page. And I have set up a template here where I'm going to be embedding my data pages. Okay, you can see all of my placeholders, and under the admin I call this page add.htm, and it's sitting inside the admin folder, okay, of my directory. So I'm going to open up my web pages. You can see that I have a total of 10 web pages where I need to embed all of my forms and reports. This add.htm is currently sitting inside the agents folder, so I don't need that one. I need this add.htm that's sitting inside the admin folder. Okay, so what we're going to do is just remove this placeholder, paste our Caspio code, save our script, refresh, and let me just make this live, sumapp.com. And here we have a login screen for the agents to be able to log in. Okay, so I can try to log in now as Jesse at remax.com. Password is test. And let me try that one more time. I think it was trying to, still loading. And I failed to log in because add new agent. Unless I misspelled something in my user table. Let me try one more time. And I'll go back to my table to see where I made the mistake. Test. Okay, good. So let's go to our account now. You can see that even I, no matter how many times I do this, I always end up finding a mistake. So let's go to our table, and let me just backtrack here a little bit. Jesse at remax.com. So the email is right. That's an agent. Oh, because I'm trying to log in as the agent, not the admin. I'm supposed to be logging as the Walter because we're working on the admin interface. Silly little mistake. So let's go back to our website and let's log in as Walter at remax.com, password test, and that should allow me to log in. And there we go. There we go. So now we have the submission form, and now I can add my first agent. You can see that all of my other tabs are not connected yet because I haven't built those data pages. So let's go ahead and add a new agent. So let's say Mary Jones, Mary at remax.com. Password is test. She's going to be an agent. allow her to log in, and click submit. Okay, your submission was successful. Immediately, as the account owner of your Caspio Bridge account, you can go directly to your table, open that employees table, and you'll be able to see that new added employee as the administrator of Caspio Bridge. But as I mentioned in all of my training classes, you hardly ever need to log into your Caspio account, even as an admin, because you can create all of these data pages for yourself on the web and have access to it no matter where you are. That way you don't have to log into Caspio every time to be able to pull up this information. Because even on this application, you can have another admin over this admin to be able to look at all of this data and what's happening with the application. Okay, so this is just a CEO or the CEO of this real estate agency who is able to log in and add a new agent. Alright, so the next logical step is, now that I can add agents, I want to be able to manage my agents. So inside Caspio, let's go back to data pages. And inside my admin folder, I'm going to click on new data page. And we're going to go with the reports, tabular format. This is the one I usually go with myself. Click on next, and that's going to be based on the employees table again, because that's where all the information is. We're going to apply the same style, and let's call this data page name view or manage employees. And we're going to restrict access based on the admin authentication. Here you can create a search form if you'd like to be able to find your employees based on name or email or phone number. I'm just going to go with the predefined criteria. And you do not need to restrict access here based on user identity, because the admin should be able to see all of the information. Okay, usually we enable this checkbox if you're limiting based on a specific user ID. Alright, so we're not going to filter our data. Let's just go directly to our results page. And in the results page, I want to show the employee's name, their email, their status. And the only change I'm going to make to my results page fields is the status checkbox. Because as you can see, by default, it's set to yes and no. I just want to rename that and customize it a little bit. So if it's yes, if it's checked, I want that to really say active. If it's not checked, I want it to say inactive, and click OK. So you can see how instead of yes and no, it's going to say active or inactive. We're going to show 25 employees. As an admin, I'd like to be able to delete my employees. And yes, I'd like to enable a details page. And in the details page, we can show everything. Because as an admin, I'd like to be able to change my employee's name, their email, their password, and also be able to allow them to log in as either the admin, the agent, or allow them to log inside their account. And when you're done, click Finish. And here's our second data page. I'm going to deploy this now to a page that I called index.htm, but it's sitting inside the admin folder. So index, it's sitting inside, let's see, not that one. Let's see this one. Yeah, this is the one that's sitting inside the admin folder. Here's my placeholder. Let's paste our code. Refresh. And there it is. Okay, you can see that we have Mary and Jesse who are currently agent status. They're both active. And then Walter is the admin, which there's a yes right there. And now I can go to details. And now I can edit that information using this report. Alright, so I think I'm done for now with the admin interface. What I'm going to go do next is go to my agents. And then here, oh, I actually connected it to my other one, so let me just make sure this is demo. Alright, so here's my agent, one that where I'm actually deploying the application. So here we're going to now work on the agent side. And the first thing that I want to be able to build as the agent is the add a new listing. Okay, we have the properties table, which means that I can build a submission form to add a listing. So let's go inside our agents folder now, click on new data page. And we're going to use the submission form, click next. And now this needs to be based on the properties table because that's where all the property fields are. Same style, and we're going to call this add new listing form. We're going to restrict access, and this time it needs to be based on the agent's authentication, because only the agents that have access should be able to log in and be able to input the new listing. You're going to more than likely need all of your fields in your submission form, so we're going to move them all to the right. And now you just have to really quickly, I'm going to do it really quickly, but you have to configure each field at a time. Okay, so property name, that's probably going to be a required field. Description is going to be a text area. And then you have address, city, and state. Remember, state field, I have a lookup table of states. So from here, instead of a text field, I can do a drop down. And instead of custom values where I manually create my drop down options, or just do a lookup table, I want to do both, which is both custom values and lookup table. And the reason why is because the first option on my drop down, I want to say select state. Okay, you're going to delete the value, and then you're just going to find out lookup table of states, and there it is, states lookup table. And then moving on, we have the zip code field, we have the bedrooms, bathrooms, price, square footage, date posted. Now date posted, I can actually make this a timestamp, so it's a hidden field. And now with a little bit of configuration, we need to stamp the employee's name, and we need to stamp the user ID of that employee. And to do that, we're going to highlight this field, and obviously I can't make it a text field for the employee to type in their name manually. That doesn't make any sense. Because I already logged in as Jesse, the system should know my credentials. So what I'm going to do is make this a hidden field, use the authentication fields, and stamp the employee's name inside that field. Okay, it's a hidden field, and it's going to verify our name from the authentication and stamp it inside that properties table. Same thing for user ID. We're going to hide this field, authentication fields, and we're going to use the user ID as well. And then we have status. I have a quick question here. Let me just pause here for a second. How would you validate that the zip code is correct for the state selected? So if I select the state, you could have a lookup table where it's a cascading drop-down, for example. So in the release that's coming out in less than a week, we're going to have a much better way of doing that. So there are some new features that are coming out in less than 10 days. We're going to have a cascading text field, and as long as you have a lookup table to select a zip code or a state or vice versa, so if I select a state or zip, the other cascading text field would automatically select that corresponding zip code or state that's assigned inside a lookup table. Okay, and right now we can only do it using the cascading drop-downs, but in less than 10 days we're going to be able to do that with the new features that are coming out. But if you select a state, sure, but I think if you select a state and you want to make sure that zip code belongs to that state, that is a little bit of configuration that you'll have to do in order for the system to know that that zip code belongs to that state. But if you have the lookup table, then it should automatically know if you do have the lookup table. All right, moving on. So then we have the status checkbox. And what I'm going to put in display text is check to publish right away, basically. Just a little bit of instruction here for the agent to know what they need to do. And then property image, well, let's move this up a little bit underneath maybe property description. And property image, you have inside Caspio up to 50 megabytes that you can upload per file. That's the cap. I'm just going to put it as 15 megabytes and leave the label as property image. Click finish. And there is my submission form. So let's go ahead and deploy that and embed our form into a page that's called add new listing. So it's called add, and it's inside the agents folder. So add, this is the admin folder. Add, this is the agents folder. All right, so let's go ahead and paste our code, save our script, refresh, and now let's log in as Jesse. And there's my submission form. And from here, you just have to customize the look and feel if you want to have multiple columns, change the styling, the appearance of it. Again, we don't have that much time, so please don't pay any attention to the aesthetics and formatting. This is just for demo purposes. So let's give it a name. Property name can be new beach home. And then what we're going to do is add a description for this home. We can say lovely new home in Redondo Beach, for example. We're going to add an image for this property. So I'm going to just go ahead and locate that image. I actually downloaded one earlier. Let me just find it. There's the beach house. Address can be something street, Mountain View, California. We'll just add a zip code, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms. Price can be, I don't know, $150,000. If you can find a beach home for this price, I will kudos to you. Square footage, 12,000. Check to publish right away and click on submit. And your submission was successful. Okay, so now if you look at your properties table and click on open, you're going to be able to see that one record added inside a properties table in your database. We can see the property ID is number 1, and if I go to the right here, you're going to be able to see who was the agent who submitted that listing. We can see the agent's ID. There's the image that's attached, and status means it's going to be checked and published. There's the price and all the other information. Okay, so now that I can add a listing as an agent, I also want to be able to manage my listings as the agent. Okay, so let's work on that data page next. So inside the agents folder, we're going to click on new data page. I want the report. Let's go a tabular format based on the properties table because that's where all the information is. We're going to use the same style, and let's call this manage my properties. You're going to have to restrict access to this data page based on the agent's authentication to password protected. Yes, you could have a search form, but again, because we're trying to save on time, we're going to just disable that for now. And the important thing here that you have to do is you have to now set up a RLS, record level security, because as this user, I only want to be able to see my own listings. I don't want to see all the listings for other agents. I only want to see the related listings that belong to my user ID. Okay, so remember, this is why we stamped the user ID in the properties table as Jesse Pinkman, who is user ID number 2. And all of the matching property table is also going to carry Jesse's information too as the user ID number 2. And that's why you're limiting the information based on that user ID. Okay, we're not going to filter. We're going to click next and go directly to my results page. And in my results page, I'd like to be able to see maybe a thumbnail image of that property, property name, maybe the city and state, the price, and the status of the property. All this other information, I'm going to put this inside the details page. Okay, so the property image, let's have that be an image, and we're going to display a thumbnail, and I'm just going to put maybe 75 pixels width. Now you want to leave the height empty, because if I put it 75 by 75, it's going to skew the image depending on the original image size. So if it was a rectangular image, and if you put it at 75 by 75, the proportion of it is going to change. So usually I like to leave this blank or empty to constrain the same orientation of the image. Then you have property name, city, state, and then the status here. Well, just like before, see how it's displaying yes and no. I want to customize the yes and no. If it's yes, I want that to say published. If it's no, unpublished. And click OK. And then we're going to list 25 properties. As an agent, I'd like to be able to delete my listings. And then let's enable the details view. And in the details view, I'm going to show all the information about that property. And now really quickly, you just have to go through each one of your fields and make them editable, because you want the agents to be able to edit that information. And I'm just going to speed through it really quickly since I know what I'm doing. Actually, we don't need to make all of them, maybe just a couple important ones. The state field can be a drop down, and that's going to be associated with the lookup table of states. And then just go down the list of all of your other fields. I don't need these two fields because I don't need to see my own name inside a details view. So I'm just going to remove that from the details view. And I don't need to see the user ID. The status checkbox, I'm going to make this a checkbox, and we're going to just say check to publish. And in the property image, well, let's move that to the top. And I'm going to display it as a file, an image, because I want to be able to replace that image if I'm not happy with it as the agent. And inside the details view, remember I made it a thumbnail inside my results page at 75 pixels. In my details view, I want it to be a little bit larger, so let's say 400 pixels so I can see it, and we're going to click finish. Now let's go ahead and deploy this data page, and we're going to put that data page here in this page that I called index under the agents folder. Oops, wrong tab. There we go. So index, it's inside the agents folder, and we're going to replace my placeholder with that code. And let's see what we get. All right, so there's my report. There's my thumbnail image for that property. Okay, I'm listing just a few information here about the image. It's published. I can go to details, and here I can see a huge image of this property. Again, pay no attention to the formatting. This can all be customized and made look really, really nice and professional. This is just for the demo purposes. And I can also edit some details here. I can uncheck this to unpublish it. So if I do that and click update, you get to see now it says unpublished. So let's go ahead and publish it one more time. Okay, and there is my my report. Okay, so now that we have this, we have the properties data page. Okay, we should now be able to build the report to search the property, because we have at least one property inside a table, which is that beach home. So now the users should be able to search this on a corporate website because this property is published. And to do this, I'm going to build a view that filters just my published listings. Okay, remember, a view can be used to combine tables, and a view can be used to filter data based on the checkbox, yes or no. Okay, so I'm going to build a view, and we're going to call this published properties, and that's based on the properties table. And all I'm doing is, oh, I already have the same name in a different application, so let me just add an underscore here. And all I want to do is filter this view based on that published yes or no checkbox. So if it's checked, that means it's published and it's going to be filtered in my view. Okay, so now if you open it, you're going to be able to see that beach home as one record inside this view. All right. So now with that view, I can go back to my data pages, and in my public folder, I can build a report that shows me all of the properties filtered based on that view. Click on New Data Page. And this time I'm going to make it look a little bit nicer. We're going to go, instead of a tabular format, let's go with Gallery for a public-facing interface. We're going to click Next. And you now need to select that view because the listings are being filtered based on the checkbox, so we need to select that view, same style, and I'm just going to call this public search listings. Okay, I am going to need to enable both of these checkboxes because later on I'm going to have to connect this to my submission form to send a message to the agent, and we're going to have to pass some parameters, and we're going to get that a little bit later. Okay, so for now I'm just going to enable both of these. I do not need to restrict access because this data page is going to be public facing. Yes, let's have a search form. And now let's include the fields that we would like to search on. So let's search based on state, city. I'm just going to have a few. How about, I know I wanted to do a price range. Let me see for my live example what I have. State, city, and the price range. Perfect. Okay, my 3 fields. And I'm just going to go ahead and configure my labels here, modify them to remove some of this other information. So that's the state field. This is going to be a drop down. I want both custom values and lookup table. And the first option is going to say search all. Delete the value because you don't want to search for this. There's no state called search all. And in the lookup table, we're going to connect that to our drop down of states. Okay. The next field is city. And you may be wondering, how come I have all this additional text here in my label? Well, when you create a view, it combines from the property name, the table name, and the label itself. It's going to combine both of those labels together. Okay, so you just have to make a few modifications here. Just remove that text. And we're going to make this contains. Okay. And then the price, so we said we're going to do a price range here. So I'm going to delete this. I'm actually going to do a list box. And for comparison type, we have the option for range. You have some other options here as well if you like to play around with that. But we're going to do a range. And now for display, what am I displaying here? Let's see. First is any. So let's do any. And we're going to leave the range blank. The new one is less than 100,000. So we'll say less than 100,000. So that means the range is going to start at 0 and it's going to end at 100,000. And then we're going to add one more here. So we'll say between 100,000 and 200,000. So we'll say 100,000 to 200,000. The range is going to start at 100,000 and it's going to end at 200,000. And then one more here, just last one, we said over 200,000. So this is display and it's going to start at 200,000. And then you can just add a large number here. Don't think you'll ever find a home that's more than that. So let's move on. Let's click next. Value must be a number. Oh, I made a mistake. What did I do? Oh, sorry. I need to remove the comma because it needs to be a number. There we go. Okay, click next. And now on the results page. On the results page, I want to show the image of the property name, address, city, state, and zip, and price. The rest of this can be displayed in the details information. Okay, so we're just going to make a few changes here. I don't need the label for the image. We already know it's an image. And I want that to be size 300 pixels. The name of the property, so property name, address, city, state, zip, and price. Now price, I'm going to configure this as a currency. Whoops, not Danish. English. Oh, I lost the U. Oh, there it is. English United States. And format type, I want this to be formatted as a currency so we can see a dollar symbol. Okay. All right, there's the formatting. Click next. Let's have it be a grid 2 by, and then we're going to show 24, which means 2 by 12. We're not going to allow the public to delete these properties because it's public information. Click next. Let's enable the details page. And in the details page, again, I want to show the property image. And we're going to list some more information here. So let's have the name, description, address, city, state, number of bedrooms, price, square footage. And I don't need any of these other fields. And once again, you just have to make some modifications here. For the image, you can say no label. And we want to display it as an image. And let's have a bigger image, 400. And then everything here needs to be display only. Okay, because you don't want the public to be able to change this information. Only the agents or the admin should be able to do that. So then property name, description, and then just go down the list of all of your other labels and make those modifications. Okay, so we're going to go and click on finish. And here's my public data page. I'm going to go ahead and deploy this to a page that I called index.htm. So let's go to our document here, index.htm, replace my placeholder, and let's refresh and see what it looks like. Alright, so I just want to make sure this is live as well. sumapp.com. Here we are. And there's my search form. So now I can search based on state, city. If I click search, there's my property, my beach home, 150,000. Good luck finding that. And if you click on details, there's my bigger image, and you can see some additional information. Okay. Any questions so far? Let me just check on time. We have 15 minutes left. We may exceed the session by about 2 or 3 minutes today. Let's see. How do we use the relationship tab inside the tables? So the relationship tab inside a table, so here's the question. The question is the relationships tab. If you have knowledge of using Access database, this screen is going to be very familiar to you, or if you've done any other database work. You can include your tables inside here. You can move them around if you'd like. I personally have never, in 5 years that I've been working with Caspio, have ever used this screen. Okay? But this screen allows you to basically connect and relate your fields together to what's related from one table to another. For this is really the main use of it is just for a visual. If you have that database background, it allows you to see visually how everything is connected and what tables are connected. But personally, I didn't learn Caspio using this way. I just learned it by building my tables over time. But you are welcome to use this screen as well if this is familiar to you and if it's easier for you to just, to be able to tell what's connected to what, how the structure is. You're welcome to use this screen. Okay, although I have never used it personally. Good question. Alright, so let's go back to our data pages and let me see what I want to build next. Now that we have the ability to search our properties, let's go to our interface. We can add listings. As an agent, you can see that I can also update my profile as the agent. Okay, so I can change my name, I can change my password. So let's build that data page next. So inside the agents folder, we have the ability to add a property. We can manage our properties. Let's build a data page that's going to allow me to update my profile. So we're going to use this data page, single record update. Okay, because just a single record, it's just my record, my information that I'm updating. So we don't need the submission form because Jesse's information is already inside the employee table, so you don't want to add new record to your table. You just want to update the data. Okay? Click next. It's based on the employees table. We're going to use the same style again, and we're going to call this agent update profile form. Restrict access based on the agent authentication. And here you need to set up record level security, and I want to be able to see my information based on my user ID. Okay, this is the authentication, the employee table, user ID, and the matching current data source is also the user ID inside that table. Click next, and now I want to be able to see all of my, well, I don't need to update my user ID, I just need to update my name, email, and password. And this is really for the admin, not for the agent. Okay. So the employee name, I'm not going to let the employees be able to change their name. As an admin, I only want to be able to do that myself. The email, I don't want them to change their email because that's their username. But password, if they want to change their password, yes, go ahead and change your password if you like. So we can say change password, and then we have confirm password. Okay, click finish. And let's go ahead and deploy this and embed our data page to a page that I called profile.htm. Profile, there it is. Placeholder, save. And what I'm building in these Friday sessions is very, very basic stuff, you know, because I only have 1 hour. I wish I had more time. You know, one of these days I may have to do a 2-hour session back to back, just because I want to show you some more complex stuff with 3 levels of users, single sign-on, and that's some cool stuff that you can learn, you know, with a little bit of script. And it's already available in our knowledge base. How you can have a single sign-on that the system recognizes who you are based on your information in the table, and it redirects you to your own portal. You see how I have at the moment I have 2 tabs. I click on this. This takes me to my admin interface. I click on this to go to the agent interface. Well, really, when you're building these apps, you will have just one login screen, right? One login screen. And depending on your email and password, the system is going to redirect you to your own interface. So if you're the admin, it goes there and you see your own tabs. If you log out and log in as the agent, you go to this interface where you see your own tabs. That way I don't have to tab back and forth between my admin interface and my agent interface. Okay, so I think maybe for the following Friday, and I may do a 2-hour session to show you some more robust stuff, which is really, really cool. And since I'm recording it, you're going to be able to do it on your own pace. Okay, so let's go to our update profile page, and you can see now as Jesse Pinkman. I thought I disabled. Oh, again, I'm using my other live example. Let me go to my demo page. There we go. So then my demo account here, you can see that Jesse cannot change his name nor the email, but I can change my password. Okay. So the only thing that I'm missing really is the ability to manage inquiries. I can add a listing. I can manage my listings. And let me see the admin side. The admin can manage all the agents. I can add a new agent. I cannot manage inquiries yet. Again, it keeps redirecting me because I forgot to change my links. Sorry about that. So let me go to RLS demo. You can see that I cannot manage inquiries yet, but I should be able to manage listings now. Okay, so let's build this data page because this is based on the properties table. So as the admin, I'm going to build a data page. Report, tabular format. And instead of recreating everything from scratch, let's cancel this. I'm just going to go to my agents folder and I'm going to copy manage my properties. And I'm just going to leave the underscore for now because I can't have the same name inside the same folder. So click on save, and I'm going to move this data page to my admin folder. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to open up my admin folder, and I just need to make a few modifications to that data page. Let me remove the underscore. There we go. Edit. Don't need to rebuild everything if we already have that information. So tabular format, we built all of this already. Properties table, same style. I just need to change this now to the admin authentication. And I don't need to set up RLS because the admin should be able to see all the properties for all the agents. I'm not going to filter, and then on my results page, I also want to include the employee's name because I want to see all the properties that belong to this employee. And then I'm going to move the employee name to the top and group based on the employee's name. Okay, so if I group based on this field, I'm going to see all the property information that belongs to each one of my agents. And now let's go to the details view. So yes, let's have the ability to delete, enable details. I also want the employee's name in the details page. And I'm going to move this up. And really quickly here for the employee name, see how the label, I can just rename this and say agent name, for example. Click finish, and let's deploy this now. You can see we're almost done. We have we have a total of 7 data pages so far. So we're almost done. And this is manage listings in the admin folder. So I call that page manage listings. Manage listings, and let's go ahead and paste our code. Refresh. And here we go. So I can see Jesse's information. I can see this is his property that he's selling. And I can go to details. And now I'm having this container that I'm using for this web page is really, it's not as wide as I want it to be. It's meant really for the iPad screen. So if I go to the details view, I can see who the agent is, agent name. And I can now edit as the admin. I can publish, unpublish, and I should also be able to delete this property on behalf of the agent. Alright, so hopefully this wasn't too difficult. Now the most advanced part is going to come into play on this application. Okay, and we covered this in the Wednesday session, and that's a session called passing parameters. using the URL. Okay, and again, like I keep saying, this is not a Caspio thing. It's very common in the web industry today. So let's go ahead and now show you first what I'm talking about. So if I click search and go to details, I want to create a link that's going to pass some data in the URL to this form, and upon submission it's going to notify the agent that the new submission came in, and then the agent is going to be able to log in and see all of those inquiries. Okay, so for this, in order for this to work correctly, we have to pass parameters using the URL. Okay, so let's go to our live example. You can click search, you can go to details, and you can see that I don't have that link yet to contact the agent. So let's go to our tables, and like I said in the beginning of the session, I'm going to have 4 tables, and this is now going to become my messages table. Alright, so let's build a new table, and let's create all of our fields for the messages. And as always, every single table that I build, I usually like to have an auto number. So every new message is going to have a unique ID. So if I want to relate this table later to another table, I can relate it using this auto number, message ID. Date that the message was sent, so that's going to be a date and time field. Name of the person that's submitting the inquiry, their email, their phone number, message itself, that's going to be a text 64,000. And this is where we're going to have maybe some confusion come up. It's some additional fields that I need to add. See, in my actual form here, there's fields that are inside this form, but they're being hidden. There's about 4 fields here, some data that's being passed inside this form, but I'm hiding that data. Okay, so the fields that I will need, and I will explain: property ID, that's going to be a number. So let me just list them all first. Agent name. I also want agent ID. That's also going to be a number. And I need notify email. And I also want to pass the property name. Alright, so these 5 fields that you're seeing here are actually on this form, but I'm hiding all 5 of those fields. Okay, so what I want to do is I need to relate this message to the property itself. So what property is related to this message? So that's why I need to have the property ID stamped inside this table from our properties table. I also want to stamp the agent's name that's selling this property. Okay, I also want to stamp the agent's ID, okay, who the agent is that's selling this property. The notify email is going to be based on the agent name, so this is going to be a cascading dropdown, because I want to create that workflow. When the message is sent, I want to notify the agent that's selling that listing via email. And I'm also going to be passing the property name, so later on the agent can see what property is associated with this message. Alright, so I'm going to show you now how this is done, and I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to actually really spend a little bit of time so everyone understands what these fields are actually doing. So let's click on save, and let's call this messages table. Okay, so I'm going to go to my data pages now. And the first thing that I need to do is pass those parameters from my results page. Okay, so let's go to our live example, and here's my details view. I need to pass the data from the inside the URL. So we need to hard code that hyperlink. So we're going to edit this data page. I'm going to go directly to my details view, configure details page. So here's that section. Okay, so here's the details view. And I'm going to insert an HTML block, okay, from this picker. And then here is where you need to write that hyperlink to pass those parameters. And as I say in my Wednesday session, where I actually explain this in a little bit more detail, this is the most advanced thing you'll have to learn inside Caspio. Okay, so hyperlink, and I'm going to write it out as contact agent. Okay, so if you look at the live example, let me go back one step. You can see there's my link called contact agent. Now you need a destination page where you're going to deploy that submission form. Okay, in my live example, I deploy my submission form to message_agent. In my example here, I have message agent, or it's called manage. No, it's called message agent. Okay, so it's the same URL where I'm going to be deploying my submission form. So then the hyperlink needs to say message agent.htm. And now a little bit of syntax is needed here, so I need to add a question mark, and now I need to pass all of my parameters to the submission form. Okay, so those are all the fields that are going to be received in the submission form. So PID, which stands for property ID, and we're going to insert that property ID from our table as a string. Okay, there's that first parameter that I'm passing. Then I'm also going to pass UID, or stands for user ID. There's the user ID as a string. I also want to pass the name of the agent, so I'm just going to use n for name equals employee name, there it is, as a string. I also want to pass property name, so pn for property name equals, so where's my property name? There it is. And let's see if I want to pass anything else. I don't think I need to pass anything else. I just want to verify here. So status, user ID, employee name. You could pass additional fields if you like in the URL, but I'm not going to pass all these other ones. I'm just going to have these ones here, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. So again, like I always say, this is the most advanced thing you'll ever have to learn in Caspio. It's how to pass parameters using the URL with a basic hyperlink. All right. So if I click finish now, and we go to our live example and refresh. Okay, you see contact agent. But if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, right down here, when I roll over that hyperlink, you're going to be able to see property ID is 1, user ID is 2, name is Jesse, and I don't see my property name. Let me check my hyperlink. So let's edit one more time. Go to our details page, our HTML block. So let's take a look. Name, so that's the employee name. Oh, because I could put quotes here. That's an extra quote that I don't need. And property name. Okay, so now it should work. So let's click finish. Refresh. Not this one. This one. Okay, so now when I roll over, now we can see the property name as well. So basically what is happening here is when I click on this link, okay, it's going to take me to the page. You can see that I passed all of my IDs successfully. So property ID, user ID, name is Jesse Pinkman, and property name is New Beach Home. And now this submission form that I'm about to build needs to receive this data that I'm passing using the URL. All right, so let's go to our account and let's go to our new data page. This is going to be public facing, and the submission form needs to be based on the messages table. Let's call this new message form. Enable advanced options and enable parameters, because the form now needs to receive those parameters that are being passed using the URL. Let's see, we don't need to restrict access. I need all my fields in the form. And now the date sent, well, this can be a timestamp, right? In the message form, I want to receive the person's name. I want to make sure I receive their email, their phone number, so I can call them back. Message is going to be a text area. And now this is where the configuration comes into play. Okay, so this is the messages table. There are all my fields. And now you need to connect this to those parameters that are being passed using the URL. Okay. So now let's go with property ID. We're going to go to the advanced tab. We're going to receive the parameter externally, and you need to call it PID, because in the URL you're passing it as PID. So the parameter name needs to be the same. Okay, there's PID. Agent name, Let's go over here. And now the agent name, let's see, what do I want to do here? So I'm passing it as a name. What I'm going to do is create a drop down here. Okay, I'm going to go to the Advanced tab, receive the value or parameter externally, and I called it just name, right? Little n for name. I think that's the best way of setting it up. So yeah, externally, and then we called it just little n for name. But what you need to do here is in the drop down, you need to have a lookup table based on the employees table. And I want the name of the employee to show up in the drop down. Because I'm passing the employee's name, Jesse Pinkman, this drop down is going to filter Jesse's information from my employee table. Okay? And you can see that I'm receiving the parameter little n. Agent ID, I'm going to make this a cascading drop down. Okay? The parent field name is going to be the agent name, so that's the one above it. All right, again, it needs to be based on the employees table. Filter based on employee name, and field for display and value is going to be the user ID that's going to be stored inside this agent ID field that I created. Okay, and this also needs to, no, this one doesn't need to receive it because it's being filtered based on the cascading dropdown. Okay, notify email will be another cascading dropdown based on the agent name, same table, filter based on employee name, and I want the email now to be selected in my cascading dropdown. And you're going to see why I'm doing this, and the only reason why I'm doing this is because I want to send that acknowledgement email to the agent. And then property name, well, this is going to be a text field, for example, and let's go and receive that value as PN, which is property name. Okay, so hopefully you're still with me. I'll explain this one more time. So let me click on finish here, and let's go ahead and deploy this form and embed it into the page that I called, let's see here, called a message agent.htm. So message agent, here we go, paste my code, and let's try this one more time. So we're going to click on search, we're going to go to details, and now when I click on contact agent, oh, let me refresh this page, sorry, I need to refresh it. Okay, you see what's happening now inside this submission form. I'm eventually going to hide this fields, okay, but the URL passed PID, here's my property ID, okay. I'm also passing the name of the employee, so here's the agent name based on the dropdown. The cascading dropdown is going to select Jesse's ID and then Jesse's email, and then we're also passing the property name. Alright, so let's make one submission here. The reason why I have the email field here as well, before I continue here, I'm going to go back to my data page, edit my submission form, and there is a reason why I have to have that email, the notify email. So remember, there's my notify email. It's a cascading dropdown. So on the next screen, I can enable acknowledgement email, select that notify email field, okay, and now I can just configure the acknowledgement email. I can say new inquiry at remax.com, new inquiry, and now you can say please log in to your Remax account to retrieve your message. Sincerely, company name. And now Jesse will receive this email automatically upon submission of that contact form or that inquiry form, and now he knows that he can log into his account and see who's contacting him about that specific message. And then you click finish. Okay, so there's the message form. I'm going to make one submission here. We'll say Kim Smith, email Kim at test.com, phone number, message, I'm interested. And upon submission, okay, you're going to see in your messages table now, when you click open, you're going to see all that information is now nicely stored, and now I can build a report that's going to allow the agent to be able to manage all of those inquiries based on this table. Okay, so then under the agents table or folder, we're going to build a new data page really quickly here because we are running past our allotted time here. So we're going to build a report, tabular format, based on the messages table, same style, view my messages, restrict access based on the agent authentication. And let's not have a search form, but I only want to be able to see my own messages based on my user ID. So we're going to enable RLS, and we're going to have the user ID be associated with the agent ID from the messages table. All right, so click next. Not going to filter, and in the results page, I want to show the name of the person. Well, actually, date sent, name, email, phone number, message, and that's it. I'm not going to make any changes here. I'm going to be able to delete my messages, and I'm not going to have a details page. Finish. Deploy. Copy the code, and let's paste that in my page that's supposed to be for my agents. Not add new agents, so I'm just going to go to this one, but because I didn't name my links correctly, I'm just going to have demo here, and under manage inquiries, there it is. All right, so this one is in the agents folder under inquiries. Inquiries, agents folder, paste my code, save my script, and refresh. All right, and there's Kim's information. I can see that she's interested. Now I can call her or send her an email. I can delete this message. And all you have to do now is repeat the same step inside the admin folder. So you can build a report and have the admin be able to manage all the inquiries. Just like the other data page, you can actually just make a copy of this, move it inside the admin folder, and make a quick edit. And now the admin will be able to manage all the inquiries, not based on record level security. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude today's session at that. You can see that in my live example here, real quickly. Details. Once again, this link is going to pass the values from the property table into the submission form, and this submission form with some configuration here, you're going to be receiving those values. And one more thing to add, how do I actually hide all these fields as a group? So let's go to our messages form. And this is very, very basic HTML. It's just one line here. So right above property ID, I'm going to insert an HTML block, and I'm just going to say table style equals display none. And I'm going to go ahead and add another HTML block, move it all the way down. So I'm going to basically wrap all of these fields, and I'm going to go ahead and close my table, so just so I can hide these fields in my submission form. Click finish, refresh, and now you'll see that those fields are no longer present in the submission form. All right, so that ends it. I do apologize. We did run over a little bit by about 10 minutes. And let me now open up the line now for questions to see if there are any questions. And once again, this video is going to be available on our website if you want to watch this again to refresh your memory. And I do have a question.